Hello and welcome to the Tales and Tunes show. We're very fortunate today to have a wonderful guest. In this particular show, we're going to welcome Mark Bishop Evans, who's from Phoenix at the present time. Mark, welcome.
Nice to meet you, Steve. See you again.
So happy that you were able to make it out here. Mark is going to be doing some performances here on the East Coast over the next week or so, and I'm delighted to have him here. In this series of shows that we're going to do, the Tales and Tunes show, we're going to talk to singer-songwriters, and hopefully this will be informative for you, where you'll learn how does the process work of writing a song, as much as we can get into that, and entertaining when you hear some of these original songs from the artists that come on board, in this case Mark, and their actual songs themselves. So I'm delighted to have Mark here today with us, and I hope you enjoy the show. Mark, when did you start playing a guitar? I assume that might have been your first instrument?
No, it was not my first instrument.
What was it?
My first instrument was a trumpet.
All right.
And I started playing that at 5 years old. And I played the trumpet for 9 years. Lessons, the whole thing, bands, you know, all that kind of stuff. And but during that time I had started singing. I was playing in church mostly, and so I had started singing, and I found out that I really wanted to sing. You know, that's what I wanted to do. And so at when I was 14, 14, 15, right in that area, I put down the trumpet and I picked up a guitar.
Now you say you pick up a guitar. Where was that guitar? Who had the guitar? How did you get that guitar?
I traded the trumpet for the guitar.
That's what I thought.
Much to my parents' chagrin.
That's just what I thought.
But there wasn't a lot they could do to me. They couldn't kill me. You know?
What kind of guitar did you swap? What kind of trumpet was it? Do you remember
It was a Conn.
A Conn trumpet, okay.
Yeah. The first guitar I got was like a, Tijuana special.
Okay, gotcha, sure.
Nylon string, you know, 6-string.
And when you got that, what were your influences at that time? What did you start? You were a singer already, and you knew music because you had all that training on the trumpet, so you really started with a jump start on this.
Right. Well, that was like 1960, 1961, right around there. And so, you know, we're talking Where Have All the Flowers Gone and Kumbaya and...
good, simple, beautiful folk music.
All that's where I started. And Peter, Paul and Mary, you know, came with Peter, Paul and Mary, Kingston Trio, Brothers Four, you know, those were the influences. And on the other side, because I was a singer, I was really into Andy Williams and Robert Goulet and those guys, so I had a bunch of their albums too. So that was in the early 60s,
a great time, I think, to be influenced by the writers and the songs. And Mark and I are wise in our age and somewhat similar up in that area. So I had some of the same influences that Mark did. I feel that probably the Kingston Trio was the biggest one in the folk movement. How about Pete Seeger and the Weavers?
Yeah, and not so, Pete Seeger, not so much the Weavers, but Pete Seeger, New Christy Minstrels.
Yeah, tremendous music, tremendous songs at that time. What particular impulse caused you to write a song?
I had been playing the guitar since 1960, let's say, and I had gotten better, and I'd been playing in church groups, and I'd been playing, you know, basically that was what I was doing, and playing for hootenannies and things like that.
Folk music of the time.
And I went in the Army in 1967 and was stationed. My first duty station after basic training was in New Jersey at Fort Monmouth, which is Red Bank area.
Gotcha.
And on bass, there was a coffee house. You know, and by that time, I had graduated from the, you know, Tijuana Special to a Martin 12-string.
Nice.
So I had a Martin D1220. And
Why,
that's what
why
I
a
played.
12-string? Why did you choose it? They're not easy to play.
I loved the sound.
Okay.
And so I got one, and that was what I was playing. Had it shipped out to New Jersey from California, where I was at, because I was watching these people play at this coffee house on bass. There were other servicemen, and for the most part, they were playing original music.
Okay.
And I went, well, if they can do that, I can do that, right?
give it a
You
shot.
know, I said, you know, that's nothing, you know. Before that, I had not even really considered it.
Wow.
But then I saw somebody who was about my level and talent level and so on and so forth doing it, and I went, well, I can do that,
Give
you
it a
know?
shot. Yeah, isn't that fascinating? I mean, most times, would you find, Mark, that when we don't take a risk, the barrier is within us.
Yeah.
You know?
Always.
And what gets you over that barrier sometimes is just what you mentioned. You hear and see someone, and I think similarly, I felt that way too. I mean, I wrote my first song, a lot of years ago, like in the 70s, very first song, and didn't know what I was doing, but I had played trombone in the band.
Yeah.
Okay, it was my instrument, the trombone, and so I knew a little bit about music. And I can remember, I didn't get a 12-string, but the first guitar I got was a 6-string. And I can remember when when they gave us these little tuners that you blew on, and then you tune the thing up.
Right.
And I would tune it up, and I would just play the E, A, D, G, B, E. It sounded so great. Just that chord sounded so great. And when I learned a D chord, I was like in seventh heaven.
Right.
Just a D chord. So the fact that you started with a 12-string is really amazing. Can you remember the first song that you wrote?
I don't remember. I remember the name of the first song
Okay,
that I wrote,
close
but
enough.
the name was called Sandy's Heart.
Sandy's Heart.
Yeah, and I don't remember the song, and I don't have it anywhere. And if I did, I would throw it away. You know, I wouldn't want anybody to ever. The first 25 songs, you know, have no life of their own.
Dare I ask who Sandy was?
She was a girlfriend that I had. You know, yeah, she was a girlfriend.
Did you ever sing it for her?
I don't know. I don't remember. That was a long time ago, Steve.
Yeah, we're talking a few decades, right, my friend? A few decades. That's fascinating. But you see, you know, folks need to consider that it really takes courage. It's why I admire a singer-songwriter so much. It really takes courage to take something from inside, put it into words, put a melody to it, and then get out there and perform it in front of people.
That's the heart of that's it's not, for me, it's not so much writing the song, but when you get up in front of people, will they like it? Will they accept it? Will they think it's, you know, juvenile, or, you know, does it make any sense to them? Might make sense to me,
Exactly.
but does it make any sense to them, right?
And don't you find that when we're doing our original songs, that it's not something that they've heard 50 times.
Right.
It is a first hearing, and many times, where would you say or at the coffee house is where you performed early on? For the most part, they listened, didn't they?
Right. There were listening rooms.
Yeah, which is rather fine compared to singing in bars and restaurants and some of the other places we sing in.
Right.
But to get someone to truly listen to our lyrics, especially, and I consider lyrics the most incredibly important part of a song. If I can't hear the lyrics, you know, it sort of goes by the wayside. So when you started writing, then how did that proceed? Was that in the 70s and the 80s? Is that when you began writing most of your songs?
I wrote a lot. I was playing in nightclubs,
Okay.
in the 70s and 80s.
By yourself?
Yes,
With the
as a
12
solo
string?
act.
With the 12 string?
No, by then I had switched back to a 6-string
Okay.
because you're limited with a 12
Yes,
string.
you are, sure.
To what you can do. And so I switched back to a 6-string, and I was playing in bars and restaurants
sure.
and those kinds of places. But then I was writing a lot.
Okay, where was this? Where?
This was in Monterey, California.
Which is an area that a lot of art and a lot of music, right?
Yeah,
In Monterey, I love that.
yeah. And I spent 20 years in Monterey, and I wrote a lot of music and a lot of poetry during that time.
How did you document this? Would you put your poem down and then attach some chords to it? How did you create this?
Well, everything initially before computers, so was handwritten out and then typed.
Yep.
So you had a book with
Yep.
all the typed stuff, with the line and the chords. You had what called chord sheets.
And we
right?
called them charts, a chart
Yeah.
or a sheet, right?
Yeah. To me, a chart is more something that has actually notes on it.
Okay, good enough.
Right.
Sure.
But so I call them chord sheets. So I had chord sheets for all my songs. And then, when computers came in and in Microsoft and Word, then everything got, the tedious process of putting everything into Word. And so, and now I still write. When I write, I still handwrite.
Yes.
I still have to have a piece of paper
Yes.
and a pen or pencil, and that's how I write. But once it's completed or pretty much completed, then I'll move it into the computer.
And back in the day, did you use at all a reel-to-reel recorder or?
I have used a reel-to-reel recorder. I have used cassette recorders.
We need to put a definition of those on for what the folks out there may not realize what those things are. But is this little tape stuff that music could be recorded on? You'd play it back and listen to it. Doesn't exist anymore. It's all digital, right?
Yeah.
It's all digital now. So where are you performing actually now, Mark? And do you have some of your music recorded?
I have 3 CDs.
Wonderful.
That are available on iTunes, my website. Pretty much they're out there.
And we'll put that on the credits, okay,
Right.
so people can see it.
I perform mostly in the Phoenix area. I perform mostly at listening rooms, libraries,
Very good.
coffee houses. I try to avoid bars.
Yes.
If somebody calls me and says, we'll pay you $250 to come and play for 2 hours, I'll say, yes, I'll do that. But I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
understand.
But I also, one of the main things is I do is about 30 times a month, I play at care facilities. I play at group homes for memory care or
Very
physical
fine.
care, the small homes. I don't play in the big facilities. I play in the group homes where there's 7 to 10 people. And so I'll do that. I do that like 30 times a month.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is a great contribution to them, and I'm sure they enjoy it, and
Well, yeah.
as much as they can.
Yeah, and in some cases, it's just shocking when you go in, you sit down, and you start playing, and somebody is sitting there, and they look like they're not on this planet with you, right? And you can sit there and you'll play for an hour, and you finish, and you get up, and I usually go around and try to shake everybody's hand.
Nice.
So I'll get up and I'll go over to them, and they'll look right at me, and they'll say, "That was wonderful. I enjoyed that so much." And you're going, "Wow."
That reward, it just
Yeah.
warms your soul, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yes, it does. That's great, Mark, that you do that. And folks, the singer-songwriters and the ones that I've encountered over the years is that they're generous people. They contribute their music to others. And I would say, and Mark, I think you'll agree, support local singer-songwriters. Go to the places where they perform and enjoy their music. Just one other thing, Mark, I know you're going to be performing here now down in Connecticut and some other states, so I wish you best of luck in those performances.
Appreciate
and
it.
I want to thank you so much again for coming in. You're going to get to hear some of Mark's music very shortly and a little story on each one of the songs. Mark Bishop Evans, thank you.
Steve, thank you so much.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome,
it.
sir.
Yeah. Well, this song I'd like to do for you, I lived in Massachusetts for a long time, and I lived in the North Shore, and I was actually here, living here in July of 2021. And I don't know if you recall, but it started raining on the first day of July in 2021. And it pretty much hasn't stopped. No, actually, it rained the whole month. I think it rained every single day. They set all sorts of records and things like that. And I decided with all the rain, I should write a song about rain. But I wrote a song, but it only uses rain as a metaphor. It's called "Still It Rains." I don't think I've ever been so lonely. Don't think I've ever been so cold. And it seems it just might rain forever while I'm just standing here collecting useless tears. Don't think I've ever been so lost or just mislaid my will for living. And it seems it just might rain forever while I'm just standing here collecting useless fear. I once knew something more than pain. Then it rained, how it rained. I lost my will to try again in the rain. Still it rains. Don't think I've ever been so sad. I don't think that I'll forget this story. And it seems it just might rain forever while I'm just standing here convinced the sky will clear. And it rains, still it rains. I once knew something more than pain. Then it rained, oh how it rained. I lost my will to try again in the rain. Still it rains. And it rains. And it rains. Still it rains. Still it rains. As songwriters, we have a tendency to write songs about things we know. However, sometimes you write a story and it's not a story that you particularly know. You're just writing a song about it. And I have a philosophy that says you never want the truth to get in the way of the story. So a lot of people have written songs about their favorite pets, their dogs, their cats, their horses. Getting a lot of horse songs, right? So this is a song about my pal. It's called Alligator. Well, the alligator is my pal, and he can be your pal too. All you have to realize, he's got feelings too, got feelings too. Yeah, he's got feelings too. Now the alligator loves his swamp and all the bugs and snakes, but he'd be just as happy in a river or a lake, a river or a lake. How about in your lake? Well, the alligator's got big eyes and teeth as long as this, but don't be frightened when he smiles unless you are a fish. Are you a fish? No, I don't think you're a fish. Well, he'd like it if you came on by to visit for a while. Just remember, he'll get pissed if you call him crocodile, 'cause he's the alligator, alligator, yeah. He's the alligator, alligator, yeah. Well, he loves to swim around his pond and he never has to work, 'cause Izod sends him royalties from his picture on a shirt, picture on a shirt. Got his picture on a shirt. Now the alligator loves to play and he never sings the blues. You'd like him better as a friend than wearing him as shoes, wearing him as shoes. Don't go wearing him as shoes. Well, he'd like it if you came on by to visit for a while. Just remember, he'll get pissed if you call him crocodile. He's the alligator, alligator, yeah. He's the alligator, alligator, yeah. He's the alligator, alligator, yeah. As you can see, I am wearing this Ukraine flag on my chest. When the Ukraine war started, I felt like I should respond somehow with a song. And, but nothing, that I was thinking of rhymed well with Ukraine. So I started going back through some of my old paperwork, and I came across some notes on a poem that I had written called "Honor." And as I read through it, most of it seemed to be very appropriate to war in general. And I don't think in the recorded history of humankind that there has ever been a time where the whole world has been at peace. There's been some kind of conflict, somebody killing somebody else, someplace in the world. And the more we develop sophisticated weaponry, it seems the more we want to use it. So this is a song of mine. It's called "Honor," in response to what's going on in the world. Honor some demand is free to every man, but I must disagree. It more rightly seems to me that honor must be won, reward for something done. It surely has a cost, has been wagered, has been lost. Since first recorded time, the mass of human crimes, like symbols etched in pain, and blood that falls like rain, clings to every cause, be it politics or gods, and man's torment of man lay countless as the sand. In Jericho and Rome, the atrocities were known. From Dresden's raging fire to pilgrim witches' pyres, from Hitler's cruelest gas to the Nagasaki blast. Why don't we despair in this wickedness we share? Rwandans and Armenians, the Kurd and yes, the Jews, the Navajo, the Creole, the Apache and the Sioux, in Nanking and in Lebanon, Cambodia and more, in Congo and in Palestine, and don't forget Darfur, Namibia and My Lai. The death is also there, stretches across the centuries, this endless trail of tears. And now another war to grieve the open sore, a rising bloody tide where children burn and die. Another Holocaust, children are lost, and man's torment of man lay countless as the sand. Rwandans and Armenians, the Kurd, and yes, the Jews, the Navajo, the Creole, the Apache and the Sioux, in Nanking and in Lebanon, Cambodia and more, in Congo and in Palestine, and don't forget Darfur, Namibia and Mali. The death is also there, stretches across the centuries, this endless trail of tears. Now honor some demand is free to every man, but I must disagree. It more rightly seems to me that honor must be won, reward for something done. It surely has a cost, has been wagered, has been lost. My mom lived to be 95 years old, and she grew up in San Diego, and she was in her late teens, early 20s during the Second World War. Her family, my grandparents, were part of the socialite community in that town, and as such, she was well known about the city. She was Queen of Job's Daughters, if you know what that is. But I think the thing that I was most impressed with was that during the Second World War, San Diego was a huge, huge military town. And they had one USO, and it was downtown. And my mom was queen of the USO. And she lived a great life. She had, pains and sicknesses and illnesses and broken hearts, and like we all do. And her and I were separated from each other for a long time. But later in her life, we got back together again, and we used to drive up in Massachusetts. We used to drive up into the White Mountains and go to a place called Fourth Iron. It was a campsite right off of Route 302 north of Conway. And we used to go up there, and there's a parking lot, and the Sawyer River comes down out of the mountains there, and it crosses under the highway, and it crosses under a railroad trestle that sits there as part of the Conway Scenic Railroad thing. And she would love to just sit there on that patch of grass, watch the water come by. Every once in a while, a train would go by, and she just loved it. She loved to travel. She loved the mountains. She loved the forest. And so when she passed away in 2018, I took her ashes up to Fourth Iron. And it was December 22nd, and there was 3 foot of snow on the train trestle. And the parking lot was closed. I had to park out on the street and truck my way through the parking lot and out onto the train trestle because I had to get out into the middle of the train trestle. And I dumped her ashes off of the train trestle into the Sawyer River there. And the wind was blowing, and the ash got in my hair and stuff like that, But I came home and wrote this song. It's called Fourth Iron, Queen of the Ball. There's a place in the mountains a bit north of Conway. Train trestle spans a ravine. They call it the Fourth Iron for obvious reasons.
fourth bridge that crosses the stream. Late in her life, she would sometimes just sit there, watch as the water flowed by, giving thanks for the goodness her 95 years had supplied. Born to a family of adequate means, deep in society's game, grew up the apple of everyone's eye, gathered some honors and fame. A beautiful child that more often smiled than ever gave into a frown, more glad in the forest than wearing tiaras or gowns. She rose to the top of society's pedestal, had all that she could desire. And when war took the nation, she rushed to the aid of the boys that the country required. Served without thought all the ones who had fought and were so often far from their homes. So they made her the queen of the ball, and they called her their own. Now I'm standing on Fourth Iron over the water that rushes and tumbles and falls. As the mist in the valley collects in my eyes, I remember the queen of the ball. My tears and her ashes all mingle together as the memories pour down like rain. And I cling to the thoughts of the woman who loved me, and I cherish the joy and the pain. The end of the war, there were men by the score, all rushing to ask for her hand. But she loved a Marine who was dashing and clean, and soon at the altar they'd stand. Next came her son, and she'd have only one, which was something she couldn't have known. And when the soldier took leave, then she raised up her baby alone. For most of her years, her son wasn't near, having wandered far off on his own. And although she grieved, she always believed that someday he'd wander back home. Now that didn't happen in the way she supposed, but still came around in the end. And 40 years later they found out that they were still friends. So late in her 80s, she moved to the east, there to be close to her boy. With walks in the forest and drives by the sea, they recaptured those lost bits of joy. She opened her heart and she told him her story, shared all her loves and her pain. They laughed and they cried then afterwards he did the same. For 95 summers, 95 springtimes, 95 winters and falls, she laughed and she cried, but all she would say is how much she was blessed by it all. If you're one of those folks who was lucky to know her, I'm sure you will always recall the smile on her face and the grace of the queen of the ball. Now I'm standing on Fourth Iron over the water that rushes and tumbles and falls. As a mist in the valley collects in my eyes, I remember the queen of the ball. My tears and her ashes all mingle together as the memories pour down like rain, and I cling to the thoughts of the woman who loved me, and I cherish the joy and the pain. Yes, I cling to the thoughts of the woman who raised me and fashioned the man I became. I wrote this song while I had a broken knee. I actually wrote a bunch of songs while I had a broken knee. But and I saw something about mockingbirds, and I started thinking that, you know, they're out there in the forest, and all these other birds are out there, and there's all these birds out there making their mating calls and calling for their, you know, to find a girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. And here's this mockingbird mimicking what they're doing, and so everybody's confused. And I thought, that's kind of like life, right? That's kind of like human life. Right? You got all these people out there searching for love, and then you got all these players out there that are acting like they're looking for love and they're not. So I wrote this song called The Mockingbird. As twilight slips tonight, the moon is on the rise. Beneath the fading light, the whippoorwill arrives. He settles to the ground, there to sing his song, a soft and lovely sound, for love to sing along. While high up in the trees, mockingbird appeared, and on that gentle breeze He mimics what he hears. And to the creatures in the night, the songs both sound the same. So the whippoorwill takes flight, and the mockingbird's to blame. And the mockingbird is singing in the night. He hopes true love will hear, while the mockingbird's answer is unkind, makes him think his love is near. The road is often long, the toll is always high, but those who have a song will always find the sky. And though they fly alone and leave the night behind, their hearts remain their own, and love is theirs to find. And the whippoorwill is calling in the night, and he hopes true love will hear. And the mockingbird's answer is unkind, makes him think his love is near. So it is they play the story of our lives and our endless hope for love, while the mockingbirds are singing in the night, not a friend to anyone. And the mockingbird is laughing in the dawn, never caring what he's done. It's called There Is Still a Dream. And I wrote it as a response to the social injustice that I'm seeing run rampant in the world, but also in the United States. And I actually did write it right around Martin Luther King's holiday. But it, other than the dream word in there, it really, it encompasses a lot of what he believed in and fought for. There is still some time for all of us to learn how to be kind, and compassion's heart to find. for everyone, no matter where they're from. There is still some time. There is still a love that fills the world and all the skies above. And it surely is enough to make a start, to change the human heart. Yes, there is still a love. There is still a dream burning in man's heart for being free. A prayer from all humanity, a simple plea for human dignity. I'll have you know that there is still a dream. And there is still a song that echoes through the forest loud and strong, that the time has come to right the wrong. For every man, black or red or tan, the time has come to right the wrong. There is still a dream burning in man's heart for being free. A prayer from all humanity, a simple plea for human dignity. I'll have you know that there is still a dream. Yes, there is still a dream.